All right, so I read a disturbing article in the Christian Post, and so I want to pull this up. It's an article that says 1/3 of Democrats want Trump dead, basically, or 1/3 of Democrats are sorry that the assassin failed to kill Trump. So let me pull this up because I want to talk about this. This is disturbing. Where is it? Now that's too little. Let's see. Come on, make it bigger. Make it bigger, man. That's too little. There you go. All right. So look at this here. It says first of well, let me just read it. About 1/3 of Democrats say they wish the assassin's bullet directed at former President Donald Trump earlier this month did not miss, a new poll suggests. A potential reflection of the volatile political climate engulfing the United States. A Snap July 18 survey of 235 Democrats conducted by University of Buckingham professor Eric Kaufman. Why this boy's name got to be Eric? Anyway, Eric Kaufman examined whether people agreed with the statement declaring that, quote, I wish Trump's assassin didn't miss, end of quote. Man. The survey was commissioned 5 days after Trump narrowly escaped death as an assassin's bullet grazed his ear at a July 13th rally in Pennsylvania, but did not kill him. One attendee was killed, two others were injured. Okay, so first of all, this is disturbing news. Remember, I'm looking at these things not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. I'm looking at this as a Christian, as a man of God, as and you say Christian, and oh man, these boys have hijacked. They have hijacked the term Christian so much so that there's so much bad behavior attached to the word Christian. You almost like we look, saints. We got to come up with another term because these boys, these people have just dragged that term through the mud. We got to come up with something else. Okay. So anyway, that's probably a pretty good video. So anyway, let's look at this. So as a Christian, I'm looking at this thinking, okay, uh, what can I bring to this conversation? You know, that's positive. You don't want to just stir the pot. It's not easy being smart. One of the best ways to know why you believe what you believe and to know what you're talking about is to read, read, read. And one of the best ways to do that is to get a free trial subscription to listen to audiobooks on Audible. What's Audible? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me show you. Okay, when you click the link in the video description, it's going to take you to this page here, and that's where the magic happens. You are looking for the Audible Premium Plus plan. So Audible is an Amazon subscription service to the world's largest source of audiobooks and podcasts. I've had the Premium Plus subscription now for 10 years. I think you'll love it. Here's how it works. You sign up for the free 30-day trial to the Premium Plus subscription. You get an initial free credit that you can use for any audiobook no matter how long it is, 4 hours or 40 hours. If you're in Amazon Prime and this is your first trial offer, you get 2 initial book credits. Hey, here's an idea. Totally ethical. There's a big fat book you've been wanting. Sign up for the free trial offer, use the credit to get your book. Hopefully, you'll love Audible as much as I do and you'll stay. But if not, cancel before the deadline. You keep the book and it costs you nothing. There's really no reason not to try this out. You can't lose. Click my link in the description. Just try to stir up some mess and get some clicks and all this stuff. But you got enough people doing that. What can I do to contribute something positive to this conversation? Well, I want to think out loud, okay? Because when I first saw this, I'm like, oh my goodness. But I will tell you this: it didn't surprise me one bit. Why? Because I don't believe people are basically good. I think that is basically ridiculous to even say something like that. You go any place in the world, any place in the world, and they have a military for a reason. They have a police force for a reason. That is because people are not basically evil. I mean, basically good. People are basically evil. Okay, so anyway, so my perspective of people being basically evil, I'm not surprised at this. I'm disheartened by it, but I'm not surprised. Now, one thing that happens when this type of article comes out is it does stir the pot, because in America, everybody hates everybody. I mean, Republicans hate Democrats. Democrats hate Republicans. Okay, men and women. Well, it's mostly women hate men. Okay, and so now the men have turned on them, and it has backfired. I knew that was going to happen. So anyway, so you've got the women and the men. They're going at it. You've got the homosexuals coming after the straight people. Okay, you've got all kinds of people. Everybody hate everybody in America. Okay, so this did not surprise me that this type of thing is going on, but it did cause me to start thinking. And I wrote down a few things, and I did immediately. I went negative with this. I heard like, what? And I started thinking cynically and facetiously about how the Democrats portray themselves as the good guys, the nice guys. Now, they're not so nice if you are against abortion, and they're not so nice, if you. I mean, there's all kind of reasons. Think about, and here's what I was thinking about when I read them. Like, well, are these the gun control people? I was trying to figure out the math. So if 1/3 of the Democrats want this man dead, and I thought, well, are 1/3 of these people against gun control? And I thought, nah, the Democratic Party that's pretty much one of their staple, their pillar posts, of their platform is gun control. So to me, that didn't add up. How is it that these people, I don't know, follow my logic here. Okay, or illogic. So you have a man, a murderer, who's on a rooftop trying to murder the ex-president, presumably because he doesn't agree with the man's political position, right? So, and I'm assuming that the man is a Democrat. Then you have, according to this guy, Eric Kaufman, who said that 1/3 of Democrats are sorry that this man didn't kill somebody that they disagree with politically. So can those 1/3 at the same time they're against guns be for guns, or at least they're for one gun, one rifle to be more technical. So what I'm trying to show you is this is totally inconsistent, right? It's hypocritical to say you are for gun control unless it's for my assassin trying to murder somebody. Now, I was about to say that's extreme, but murder is extreme. And if this is true, that 1/3 of the Democrats really believe or really want this man dead, then that would mean that 1/3 of those people who said they wanted the assassin to win or to succeed, then obviously that 1/3, they are not for gun control, right? So anyway, why I'm even bringing that up? Because don't take this as I am trying to backdoor support either one way or the other, gun control or the opposite position, because it's not. I just thought the irony of somebody saying that they're for gun control and at the same time wanting to kill somebody with a gun, it doesn't make sense to me. And that's how I see so much of human nature here in America, whether it is Republican or Democrat. Somebody saying something that they are obviously in opposition to, or saying they're against something that they're obviously for. And we do that a lot. And I hope that that's one of the things I could bring out in my channel here in these videos, is that we say a lot of things that we are for that we truly are against. And we say we are against some things that we truly are for. And why would I want to bring that out? I want to bring that out because maybe if we are forced to see ourselves, maybe we can be a little bit more honest. Maybe we can be a little bit more understanding of the other guy. Maybe we can learn to listen before we lecture. So listen, learn, lecture, right? And so hopefully this video here can help us see what we truly believe. Maybe we can look at some of these ironies and say, you know what, that really doesn't make sense. So anyway, let's go on. So I thought about, the gun control people and Save the Planet and, and all the other nice guy stuff that the Democrats are known for or like to position themselves as. But then I thought about the pandemic and all those marches and riots and people being beat up and all that stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute. A lot of that stuff was done by the nice guys, right? The Democrats. And so my position is I don't believe the Democrats are nice guys. I don't believe the Republicans are nice guys. I believe human nature is evil. Okay. And given the right environment and the right impetus, then it expresses itself. And here's an opportunity for the Democrats here where they express themselves. Now I do want to bring this out though, because I want to be fair. This guy did a survey of 235 Democrats. Now, I don't know if I could have looked it up. I don't know if this Eric Kaufman guy, if he's Republican, just trying to make the Democrats look bad, or if he is a Democrat and just saying, hey, here's what the survey said. I also don't know whether he did a scientific survey, because surveys and polls, if they're going to be any good, they need to be done scientifically, which means you need to get a true representative sampling. When you want to doctor something up, you cherry pick the people that you want in the sample, and then you say, hey, 90% of people say blah blah blah. It's like, dude, you pick the people you wanted. I don't know if this man did that. I doubt it. But I don't know if he did or not. I don't know the science behind his survey. Plus 235 people. Does that represent basically the 49% of Americans that are registered as Democrats? So we're basically talking about 100 and maybe 55 million people. So does 235 people represent 150 something million people? Well, I mean, look, you cannot poll 150 something million people. So all polls are representative samples. Okay, so that's how all polls do. And polls, when they are done scientifically, they are good predictors. Okay, so they could be off, a few points to the left or right, but they generally speaking are good predictors. So I'm assuming this is true, and plus, because I am cynical of human nature, so I believe him. We'll just go with that. I believe the man. Plus, the man's name is Eric Kaufman. Okay, he's got a good first name. So anyway, let's go on. So I was thinking about this also when I thought this. I said, wait a minute. Well, what if this man is telling the truth? So 1/3 of the people, the Democrats, are sorry that Trump wasn't killed, but then 2/3 are not. So I thought, thank God that 2/3 of the people did not want this man to die. That is good. Now, of course, human nature being what it is, and the political atmosphere being what it is, any Republicans that get a hold to this article, what are they going to highlight? Are they going to highlight that, hey, 2/3 of the Democrats said this is wrong? No, they're not. Right? Because that's not how it works in a debate. In a debate, you overlook any good of your opponent and you highlight anything that you can to discredit them. So what you will hear is the Democrats want the man gone. Well, this man's survey said 2/3 of the Democrats does not want him gone. That means there's 100 million Democrats or so that said, hey, this is wrong. Look, I don't believe in the man. I don't want him as my president, but I am not resorting to condoning murder. And I am grateful for that. And so I hope that if any of you do come across that article, or any of you that hear me, bringing attention to this article, that you not just focus on the 1/3 of those self-identified killers, but and that's what they are. You agree that you want that man assassinated. You're a killer, and that's how God sees you. You're a killer. That's how I see you. Okay, but I also want you to focus on those 2/3, because that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Okay, but anyway, I did want to bring this up. What if this man's poll is right, and that you've got 1/3 of Democrats, roughly 50 million people or so, wanted that man to die up there? So immediately, as a Christian, I began thinking of two opposite positions in the Bible. And here is something that people don't know, is that often in the Bible, as a matter of routine in the Bible, you will have a scripture or a series of scriptures or stories or passages that will talk about one scenario, but then you'll have another group of scriptures that talk about another scenario or different context. That's a better word, different context. And then untrained people or opponents of Christianity or atheists or whoever, they don't. Again, what do you do when you're trying to discredit your enemy or something you don't believe in? Is you find something and then you try to highlight that, right? And so what they do is they look at two opposite verses, two opposite statements, one saying go east, one saying go west, and they say, hey, look at that contradiction. And it's not a contradiction at all. It's talking about different scenarios and different contexts. Okay, so anyway, I immediately thought about two different contexts. So I'm like, well, my first thought about these people were, man, these folks are killers. You, you, I mean, look, I understand, you not wanting Donald Trump to be your president. There's a whole lot about this man that that needs to be scrutinized, right, and held in check. But an assassin's bullet, right? And so my first context was on the negative side. And so I thought of this verse here. It's Proverbs 24. I'm going to show this to you. Don't run off, folks. I'm going to show this to you because this fits right in. So share this tab. Did I bring it up right? Okay, there you go. All right. So you look at that tab, and let me bring it so that I can read it. All right, there we are. So Proverbs 24, 17, 18 says this: do not rejoice when your enemy falls, and let not your heart be glad when he stumbles, lest the Lord see it and be displeased and turn away his anger from him. And I like this. And this was AI. They brought this up. This verse is a warning to those seeking wisdom to be careful not to celebrate when an enemy experiences misfortune. In some versions, the word rejoice is translated as gloat, which is associated with an arrogant and mocking attitude. Scripture also says those who rejoice at the misfortune of others will be punished. Now, think about this. God says, do not rejoice when your enemy stumbles. Okay. Now, here is something I want you to see. In this passage where God is actually coming down hard and saying, I will punish those who gloat arrogantly, selfishly, when their enemy stumbles or something bad happens to somebody and they get all glad. And isn't that what you see? I mean, man, on both sides, right? But right now, let's deal with the Democrats. So you've got these 1/3 of the people, and they see this man almost get killed, and they're like, doggone it, just a few more inches, right? And you look at that like in horror, because that is wicked. That is the spirit of murder. Man, that's the type of thing that we used to see in other nations where, I mean, man, these boys, I'm thinking about like in Africa, man, and a lot of times that still goes on. In Africa, I mean, you elect the president, how long are you going to be president? I mean, man, you've got nations over there where, and that honestly, I mean, it's very prevalent there in Africa. It's like what, 40, I don't know, 44 nations or whatever. You're president for a few weeks until some dude in a Jeep comes wearing his army battle dress uniform, comes and drags you out. Now he's president, him and his cronies, until another dude comes and grabs him, right? And for a long while, we just look at that on television and say, man, these boys can't get it together, right? Or you look down in Central America and you see, some coup down there. And all the coups happened around the world. But then you look at this article and you find out here you have 1/3, 50 million Democrats, according to this man's article, 50 million Democrats basically had that same spirit of murder in them and saying, I'm for murdering somebody because I disagree with their politics, right? And so this scripture, right, and I wonder how many of those people consider themselves Christians. Now, I don't know, because on the Democrat side, they're not the ones they're not the ones holding up the Bible and well, not, they're not the ones holding up the Bible and saying they're doing everything in the name of God. Now, obviously, you've got a handful, relatively speaking, on that side saying they're Christians. But for the most part, those are the people saying, Those are your groups of atheists and agnostics and homosexuals and people who don't know what a woman and a man is. And if you name it, you name the group, it's in that group, that one big group, right? And one thing they seem to have in common is, don't tell me what to do, and I don't care a blank about your God, right? Against Christianity and against the Lord. Okay, but then on the other side, you've got the people on the other side who call themselves Christians, and from what I see scripturally, they're just as bad as the other side. It's just that one side comes out and tells you I'm godless, and the other side weighs the Bible while they're godless. So that's how I see it. But anyway, back on to the Democrats. So the Democrats here gloating about somebody having something bad happen to them and wanting somebody to get murdered. That's extreme. You can't get worse than that, wanting somebody to be killed. But I want you to look at God's attitude. God says, I don't like that, and he is against it. Now, here is something I want you to see. In that verse, let me pull it up again so that I can see it. In that verse, it says, when your enemy falls, do not let your heart be glad when he stumbles. Now, in this passage, it's not talking about whether or not this is a good person or a bad person, not whether they are moral or immoral, not whether they are a tyrant or a benevolent ruler. It's not talking about behavior of the person that you deem your enemy. The topic here is whether or not you consider somebody your enemy, and how do you behave when they have misfortune. God is looking at that. So whether this person is good or bad, that's not it. It's what's in your heart. And that's how God always looks at us. So for you, if assuming this is true, what this man said, for you 50 million self-identified murderers, you are going to face God a lot sooner than you think. And you're going to face him, among other things, as a murderer. All right. Now, I have something else here in Proverbs 29:2. So let's get out of this one here. And this is going to show you a different, let's see, did I get it right? There we go. Yeah. There we go. All right. So this is going to show you a different context. Now, look at this one. Proverbs 29:2 says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn. The central theme of this verse is who rules matters. Different versions of the Bible have slightly different wording, such as groan or sigh instead of mourn. And then there are some other verses that talk about, when the wicked lose power, the people rejoice, that type of deal there. Well, that's talking about a different context. Okay. In that case, is focusing on whether or not the person who was ruling is a tyrant. So if an Adolf Hitler loses, absolutely I'm happy. If I am in China and I never can say this man's name right, Mel T Sung or whatever it was, you know who I'm talking about. That little joker back in the 60s killing up tens of millions of people in China. So if he kicks the bucket, oh yeah, it's time to party. Why? Because he is a maniac and he's using the power of the state to oppress and torture and destroy millions of people. If I am in, I don't know, fascist Italy and Mussolini is dethroned, am I happy? Absolutely. I mean, you go on. If I'm in Was that Uganda? Well, Idi Amin, a crazy maniac African running around there killing folks. But if you are in a place where there is a tyrant and he is just butchering up people and doing whatever tyrants do, and then he is stricken down, yes, the people are happy. Why? It's not the same thing as the first verse I showed you. The first verse talked about, it basically was focusing on the wickedness of the person rejoicing because of somebody they consider an enemy. Why? And they consider this person an enemy simply based upon the context is based upon some grief they have with that person, right? And we have a lot, that's just personal stuff, right? It would be, for instance, these 50 million, apparently, these or presumably these 50 million Democrats who are sorry that Trump wasn't killed. Well, why? Well, because I don't like the fact that he's against folks bum rushing the border. Or I think he's a womanizer, or I think this, or whatever, So we're going to just kill him, or we agreed that he's killed. Well, so you have these different, I don't know, reasons that could be debatable, whether or not the man should build a wall or not, whether or not somebody has high taxes on the rich or not, or, some type of policy deal like that, or he's going to put in a Supreme Court justice and we don't want that. Stuff like that. That is quite different from Adolf Hitler stuffing people in ovens, killing, ethnic cleansing, or whatever. So those two passages are two different things. And when I heard this article, when I read the article, I began thinking, I wonder what group of people these are in. Are these people who are just wicked in themselves? Or are these people saying, I think this man is a dictator and he's going to take the country and he has all of the characteristics of a dictator who could turn this country into something just absolutely horrible. I don't know. I was just thinking out loud. Only God knows what's in those people's hearts, but I wanted to bring it out because I want us to think on this channel. I want us to listen, learn, and then lecture, okay? So often, and hopefully I will bring up a lot of things where I don't necessarily, I always have a position, and I'm not going to try to hide a position I have or whatever, but I don't want any personal political belief I have about a particular thing that could be right or wrong to stand in the way of my larger goal of fostering more of a listening and understanding environment in our nation. Okay, so I want us to learn how to listen to people, not agree with them necessarily, but at least listen. And if you're going to disagree with somebody, have something beyond just your emotions. My gosh, there's some folks you can't even talk to because they can't get past their emotions on an issue. They believe passionately about something that they don't even understand. So anyway, I look, I have beat up on the Democrats enough right now. So I want to bring out something here about my Republican boys. So, and girls, okay. So let's take a look at something here. All right. So we have identified these. I was looking at this article. We've identified, presumably, according to this man's survey, 50 million Democrats who are, according to them, murderers. All right. So let's go to another tab here. Okay, you guys remember Nancy Pelosi? Now that is somebody that all of the I'll say all. I'm speaking in generalities. Okay, so I'm assuming you guys understand that I'm speaking in generalities. Now the Republicans hate that woman. Okay, they hate her. All right, so I want us to take a look at a video here of something that happened to her husband. And you guys remember, what I don't know if it was a couple of years ago. Anyway, so this guy broke into her home and he went in there to kidnap Nancy Pelosi, who was at the time, was she the Speaker of the House? So he breaks into the house and he wants to kidnap her, but she wasn't home. You know, these folks are old, right? So this man, he sees her husband and he beats the man in the head with a hammer.
So he gets beat down because she's out having a good time?
Yeah. Beat him in the head with a hammer. Now, let me ask you this question. We've already seen on the Democrat side, there are some murderers over there, right? Now, what about the Republicans? Are there some murderers over there too? How did the Republicans feel about this, and how do they feel about it today, that this old man was beat in the head with a hammer? Okay, we're gonna find out. But first of all, let me show you this video. Let me click on it here. And okay, here do I have it up here? There we go. All right, here we go. Take a look at this.
Breaking news at 11. The man convicted of attacking former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband inside their San Francisco home has just been sentenced. Hello, I'm Amanda Del Castillo.
And I'm Kristen Z. Thanks for joining us. Court proceedings began only about an hour ago, and after victim impact statements from the Pelosi family, we now have a sentence.
ABC 7 News reporter Lena Howland was the first reporter on scene the morning DePape attacked Paul Pelosi with a hammer, fracturing his skull. And she's been following the story ever since. She joins us live from the federal courthouse in San Francisco with what's happening. Lena.
Well, I just stepped out of the courtroom only minutes ago, right after the judge has sentenced David DePape to 30 years in federal prison for this attack on Paul Pelosi. Now, just to give you a little more background of what just happened in the last hour in this courtroom, we also heard from the Pelosi family. Christine Pelosi, the daughter of Paul and Nancy Pelosi, read off two different victim impact statements, one from Nancy and one from Paul Pelosi. Neither Nancy or Paul were present in court, but their sentiments of how they are feeling today definitely reflected in those victim impact statements. In the letter, Paul described the horrific attack.
Hold up, I want to bring us up. You saw that dude. Let me see if I can pull that back. Okay. In the house, right there. Right there. This man right here to the left, that's the man that broke in the house. This man here is Nancy Pelosi's husband. So I want you to see that. All right, let's get back.
In court, but their sentiments of how they are feeling today definitely reflected in those victim impact statements. In the letter, Paul described the horrific attack, his long-term injuries that he still struggles with today, and says he still hasn't discussed that attack with his wife, Nancy. Our cameras were not allowed inside of the courtroom today, but we can...
What you just saw there, let me pull it back. Here he is. This man is breaking in the house right here. Let me pull it back. Come on now. There we go. This man is breaking in a house with a hammer. I mean, literally, Doors locked, but you see it's one of those deals where you got a bunch of glass and you have the wooden pane going across. This man has broken the window, right? And now he's using I think a ball peen hammer to basically break the wood and then step inside. How long did it take? My goodness.
You know what I call this player?
Huh? Dorky.
Target practice. Light 'em up.
Yeah, that would not have gone over too well, you know, in my old neighborhood. Matter of fact, that won't go over too well in the neighborhood I'm in now. Taking that long to break in somebody's house. All right, let's take a look at it again. Start up.
Day, but we can confirm that DePape was seated inside of the courtroom and was standing in front of the judge during this sentence. Now, police said that Paul Pelosi suffered a skull fracture after being hit in the head with a hammer by DePape. Prosecutors originally called for a 40-year prison sentence, while his lawyers, however, were calling for a 14-year sentence. So today we are learning that DePape has been sentenced to a total of 30 years for this federal case. But of course, as we know, he is still facing state charges. He is facing a separate trial on those state charges, including attempted murder. If he is convicted on those state charges, he could be facing life in prison.
So let's talk about this. Let me get out of there. Where are we? There we go. Okay, so you saw this. Oh, you know what? I wanted to show you something here. Hold on. I want to show you something here that I saw. Okay, let's get back. Okay, so look at, man. Okay, let's go back. All right, so here's what I want to show you. Look at these comments. There are 465, and I went through these, and now remember, an old man has just been assaulted. Basically, somebody tried to kill him. He beat him in the head with a hammer. Normally, when somebody beats you in the head with a hammer, they're trying to kill you. Okay? So, this is an old man, and somebody's trying to kill him. And this whole thing right here is... I have to assume these are Republicans, because these are some mean, nasty, insensitive comments. Now, the fact that they're mean, nasty, and insensitive, I'm not saying that Republicans are necessarily mean, nasty, and insensitive. I'm saying that these particular comments, I have to believe or assume that it is Republicans writing these, because it's about what the things that they are saying, you know, political opponents. Okay, so look at this. 30 years, seriously? But yet, I don't even know who. Laken Riley's murder got really so blah blah. Okay, so 30 years is too much for this person. Attempted murder in this case is too much for this person. And then here's Paul Pelosi, multiple DUIs, and insider trader, nothing. Okay, so I don't know. I guess it's this guy. So somebody getting beaten up and almost, I don't know if almost killed, but he certainly could have been killed. Whether or not this person has DUIs or whatever, that doesn't mean anything. Just like looking at Trump grabbing ladies between the legs and all the stuff that he has done. That is not justification for that man's brains being blown out while he was giving a speech. And so if somebody has a DUI, we're saying that they deserve to have their skull crushed with a hammer. So on one hand, it's wrong for a man to get his brains knocked out with a bullet, but it's okay for another man to get his brains knocked out with a hammer. Why? Because he's Democrat. You see something wrong with, at least I see something wrong with this. What I see wrong, and again, you go through all of this here, you know, and that, so that's what I wanted you to see, is that this type of meanness is on the Republican side and it's on the Democrat side. Why? Because Republicans and Democrats both happen to be human. You are human before you are Democrat or Republican. And human nature is evil. All we're seeing is human nature express itself in a political context. That's all you see. And so we like to get on our side and point the finger at our political opponents and pick out everything wrong about them. And of course, everything is right about us. We're never wrong. Everything wrong about them, not understanding, or maybe understanding, but not admitting that we are as bad or worse than the people we are criticizing. So you have on both sides here, because I consider everybody here on this that left a comment that couldn't care less if somebody got bludgeoned to death just because he is the husband of somebody who you hate, Nancy Pelosi. You're a killer too. You are a murderer, just like the 50 million Democrats who they said they want Trump to be knocked out by an assassin. So there's no difference in both of you. And that's what I want us to see in our evaluation of American society, is what we're looking at, what really threatens our country. It's much bigger than a Democratic platform or a Republican platform. It's human nature. Human nature. You see it right here. You see it on the Democrat side, you see it on the Republican side. So let me show you this here. Let me go to a verse here. This is John 3:15. I hope you guys, those of you who are not Christian, I hope you haven't run off here, because Dorky Dork, he's he's got something to say to you. So anyway, look at this. This is how God sees this. 1 John 3:15 says, everyone who hates his brother or sister is a murderer. Dude, he didn't say everybody who shoots someone in the head and kills them is a murderer. He did not say everybody who bashes somebody brains out with a hammer is a murderer. Very few people are ever going to shoot somebody or crush somebody's skull with a hammer, but we will do it in our heart. Look, those people that man surveyed, and they said they were sorry that Trump died, probably, I mean, way less than 1% of those people would ever pick up a rifle and try to shoot somebody themselves, right? But in their heart, they have murder. And if somebody else does it, then I'm all for it, right? And I can still be for gun control while I am all for this person having their brains blown out with a gun, right? And here's the people on the Republican side. Probably a lot of these people on those comments are against abortion. Think about that. They're against abortion, right? But they're for somebody, old man getting his head crushed by an intruder. So I want you to see the incongruence. Now that's a
Why are you talking white?
Right.
Tell them they fight.
Dorky dork. What do you call it, dorky dork?
You want me to say it? Hypocrite.
Right. Hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy to be against abortion, but for bashing an old man's head in. It's hypocrisy to be for gun control, but you're for somebody using a gun to blow somebody's brains out. Now, God says right here, everyone who hates his brother or sister is a murderer. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. Now, let me go to the Republican side here. On the Republican side, We wave the flag and we carry these 20-pound Bibles. God said right here, you hate liberals. God says you don't belong to him. So I want to tell you, and I don't say this with any kind of arrogance. I really say this with a broken heart, with Judgment Day in mind. You are at the pro-life rallies, but you are in your heart, you yourself, you are a murderer because you hate liberals. You don't even look at liberals and Democrats as people. And that's why it's so easy for you to hate. So on one hand, you're just like those Democrats who are for gun control, but you're okay for a gun to kill Trump. You are for saving a baby's life, but you crack jokes about this man here getting his brains bashed out, or going to bomb a nation and killing up a whole bunch of people. You're for that while you're trying to save a baby's life. That's the hypocrisy of it. Those are the types of things that I hope we can look at and come to grips with and tone down some of the rhetoric as we look at our own lives and see where our faults are.